Okay. Oh my goodness. Welcome everybody to Ascend Academy. I'm so excited to have Miss Karen here to teach us all the things. All right, Karen, you can just take it away.
The floor is mine. Awesome.
It's all yours.
It is all mine. Great. And we are recording, yeah? Did I hear that?
Yep.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. I am going to talk to you about, hey, I'm Karen Fettes, for those of you who don't know me. Just tonight, we are going to talk about fundraisers. This is a topic that we talk about a couple times a year, but we get so many questions on it. How I do fundraisers might be different than, we had a couple people, I feel like it was last fall, that spoke about fundraisers, and they do theirs a little different than I do. So it's always great to get a different perspective on fundraisers. And the cool thing about fundraisers is there's no right way to do it. You do it in a way that works for you. They're consultant driven. So let's start with, I just want to tell you a little bit about what fundraisers have done for my business, why they're important to me. My husband's retired military. We've lived all over the country. We've moved quite a few times. We've had to start over building a customer base multiple times. I have a child with some major health issues, and there's some years we've spent over 200 nights in hotel rooms in cities, multiple states away from our home to provide him with medical care. And so I've had to get creative in my business, and fundraisers have been something I've done since almost the very beginning. I think I did my first fundraiser when I'd been a consultant for 2 or 3 months, probably. And I loved it, and I've done them ever since. How I've done them has evolved some over time, but some of it is really just the same basics that I did in the beginning. So I know some people, so I love fundraisers. Okay. I love them. They are a vital, huge part of our business. And they are one of the ways I think that I've expanded my customer base continually and grown a consultant base, grown a wide front line. So those are some of the reasons that I love it. They also have been responsible many incentive trips for me being a top earner, because the PRV points that I've earned from incentives has been pretty significant. So, okay, I know fundraisers, when I say fundraisers, a lot of people get squeamish, they get scared, they get uncomfortable. They feel a little overwhelmed. Fundraisers can seem scary. Sometimes they seem a little mystical, like, oh my gosh, what are the secret ins and outs? But the reality is mostly people just overthink them. Okay. So I want you to drop a 1 in the chat if you have done a fundraiser before. Drop a 2 in the chat if you have never done one but want to. And drop a 3 in the chat if the thought of a fundraiser is scary to you. One, 3, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Ones came out strong in the beginning. Let's see. But we got a little bit of everything in the chat. Okay, good. If you have done a fundraiser, I want you to drop in the chat and tell me one organization or group that you have done a fundraiser for. It doesn't have to be super specific. It could be like dance team, cheer team, church mission group, dementia. Yep, local pet rescue. Awesome. Dog shelter, child life hospital, junior high band, disabled American veterans, DAV. Yep. Local library kids program. Oh, that's a good one, Amy. I never thought about that. Cheer team Scent Circle fundraiser. Appendix removal for a friend with no insurance. Oh, I kind of love that too. Cheer choir church camp. Senior and hospice dogs. Cheer church local fundraisers for sick kids. Pancreatic cancer. You guys are getting the idea? Lots and lots and lots of different groups you can do fundraisers for. Okay, buddy drive, individual for medical. Yep, lots and lots and lots of different groups. Okay, so let's kind of break this down a little bit, shall we? Okay, so what is a Scentsy Fundraiser? And for those of you who have done them before, this is going to seem a little basic, but we have some people on here who have never done a fundraiser, don't understand the concept, so I want to start at the beginning. Simply a fundraiser, a Scentsy Fundraiser is a way for you to give part of your commission to an organization that needs to raise some money. And they're going to raise that money by selling our products. Okay, that's all it is to it. It's just a simple way for you to offer part of your commission to a group you're passionate about, or a group that needs to earn some money. It's nothing more than a party, quote unquote, or a pouch party, or an online party. But usually it's on a little bigger scale, but we overcomplicate it, and it really is that simple. So why would you want to do a Scentsy fundraiser? Well, there's a whole lot of reasons you might want to do them. Number one, they're going to allow you to support groups that you're passionate about, or support your friends or customers and groups that they are passionate about, or that their kids are involved in, or something like that. It does align with Scentsy's core value of, generosity, of course. And it's also going to help you grow a wider customer base. When I do fundraisers, I get to put my hands on customers, not literally, but put my hands on customers and add customers to my contacts, who I never would have been able to touch before, right? People that never would have come to a party of mine, never would have done a pouch party or a Facebook party. It's a great way to widely spread your customer base pretty quickly. Okay. Now, you're only going to keep those customers if you provide really good customer service. So that's important on the back end. Fundraisers also are going to help you earn more PRV, right? Now, that PRV, you might think, but I'm going to give my commission or part of my commission to an organization, so I'm not going to earn that much. Well, there's other benefits from a Scentsy standpoint. Number one, those PRV points typically, they're typically with an incentive. There's PRV points. So like if we're in our fall selling incentive, then it's usually 1 PRV equals 1 point. So if you need 18,000 points to earn the incentive, and you do a 3,000 PRV fundraiser every month for 6 months, you would have earned level 1 of this incentive. Okay. PRV counts towards promotions as well. So the PRV from a fundraiser is going to help you and your team promote, also towards annual sales award. So, and I really, really love nothing more than converting the coordinator of my fundraiser to become a consultant. And it's not as hard as it sounds, because often they see the large volume coming in from a Scentsy fundraiser, and they realize that product is consumable and people are going to need more Scentsy. So there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do a Scentsy fundraiser. What kind of groups can you do a fundraiser for? Well, we dropped a whole bunch of them in the chat, right? So we showed you lots and lots of different groups that people in this Zoom right now have done fundraisers for. And really, you're just limited to your imagination. Okay. Anyone that you think might need to earn money, you can offer a Scentsy fundraiser for. I've done them for youth sports. I've done them for soccer. I've done them I'll just give you some of my examples. Let's do that. I had kids that were involved in like Lego robotics and FIRST robotics competitions in middle school, elementary, middle school, and high school. I've done Scentsy fundraisers for their groups. I have kids who were involved in youth sports and high school sports and collegiate sports. I've done fundraisers for them. Now, when I say collegiate sports, I've done for clubs. So men's rugby is not a, it's a club in college. It's not a what is the word? I cannot think of the word. It's not like for women, like rowing is a D1 sport or a D2 sport or D3. It is a club and rugby is a club in men's collegiate. And so they need to raise money. And so I've done fundraisers for the Duke rugby team and the University of Michigan rugby program and all sorts of rugby programs. I've done fundraisers for the Pepperdine University dance team. I've done them for 6th grade classes trying to earn money to go to science camp. I've done them for Girl Scout and Boy Scouts. Now, there are some caveats if you're looking at Scouts. They do usually have to meet certain requirements for their national fundraising first. I've done fundraisers for mission groups that were going to Honduras or Costa Rica or Kenya that were looking to earn money. I've done them for sororities. I've done fundraisers for 4-H. I've done fundraisers for rescues, hospital child life programs, adoption, private adoption, all sorts of different things. Really, you are limited to your imagination. What you cannot do, however, is use an organization's name without their permission. You cannot say, I want to raise money for the American Cancer Society, and I'm going to donate 1% of my commission. You cannot say that and raise funds or solicit funds that way without written permission from that organization. So usually fundraisers are an agreement you have with an organization or with an individual. So when I've given you a whole bunch of different groups that I've done fundraisers for, and this is where I think people get stuck. They think, I don't know who I would fundraise for. So I want you to stop for just a minute, and we're going to pause, and I want you to write down at least 5 organizations that you can think of that you're passionate about, or that you have customers that are passionate about, or that are organizations in your community that might need some money. Because I want you to leave with a starting point, with a list of groups to reach out to and contact. So be thinking of things like, what is your family involved in, even your extended family. Think about your neighbors. Like, I remember talking, I think it was Vicky, and it was probably a couple years ago, but I remember we were talking about the fact that, she didn't have kids in school. And I said, well, do you know any teachers? And I believe it was Vicky. And she said, some of her neighbors were teachers. Okay, well, that's a great starting point. So if you have neighbors that are teachers, they're probably involved in different things in their school, or could let you know who in your school needs to raise some funds. Think about what you see on social media. A fair number of my fundraisers have come from reaching out to friends or customers who I see on social media posting things like, my daughter's going to nationals, she needs to raise some money, or my son was elected to this and it's going to be expensive. I reach out to all those cases and I congratulate them. And then I say, do you need to earn some money? Let me help you do that. And we'll talk a little bit about how. So do you have your list of 5? Who is struggling to come up with 5 organizations that they would like to offer a fundraiser for? I can't see you guys since I'm all spotlighted. I want you to drop in the chat. Yeah, it was you, Vicki. That's what I thought. I want you to drop in the chat. Okay, 4 is good. It's a good start, Claire. I want you to drop in the chat one group that you thought of that you would like to do a fundraiser for. Youth football, the seniors at the high school, or yes. And, sometimes there's like the after prom that they're trying to raise money for. Yeah. Who else? Freedom Service Dogs, hydrocephalus. Yep. Humane Society, local Humane Society, golf team, cheerleaders, town, lots and lots of different neighbors, autism walk, son, cheerleaders. Okay, robotics team, my good customer volunteers with. Yep. Yeah, and we've done lots of, Megan, we've done First Robotics, we've done the Lego Robotics, the younger group, local VA club, shelter, veteran support group on campus. Yep. So lots of options here, right? So who is struggling to come up with a group that you would want to offer a fundraiser for? Drop it in the chat. Dawn. Okay, so perfect. So if you are struggling, thank you for your honesty. If you are struggling with where to start to come up with organizations, I kind of want you to get another piece of paper, and I'm going to just walk you really quickly through a way to think a little outside the box. Okay, so you're going to start and just draw a circle in the box and write me in the middle of it, like your name. Either don't write Karen, write me as an ME being you, or your name. Okay, and then I want you to draw some lines off of it. This is kind of look like an elementary school astronomy project, like you're making little planets. So you've got your circle in the middle. I'll do it with you. Let's see. Me, okay. And then I'm going to draw some lines off it, kind of like this. Can you see? And I'm going to draw some more circles. Okay. Okay. You guys see this? Okay. In each of these circles, I want you to think about someone you know. In one circle, for example, I'm going to put my brother. Okay. My brother's name is Rob. Okay. In another circle, I'm going to put my old neighbor, Janie. In another circle, I'm going to put my sorority. In another circle, I'm gonna put sports that a sport that my child has been involved in. And in another box, I'm gonna put, I don't know, something local in my community that I'm passionate about. Okay, so I've got my name and I've got some circles with things in them. And then I want you to take one of your circles. Like I'm going to start with the one that says Rob. That's my brother. And I'm going to think about my brother and his family. Now, my brother is married. His wife is a teacher. I actually do a fundraiser for her group. It's a student
This
council.
is echoing to me.
I do a fundraiser for them. So think about anything that anyone in that family does. So example, my niece she's a cheerleader and she plays volleyball. My nephew plays baseball, football, and basketball. Okay. My sister-in-law's mom died of lung cancer, and they're really passionate about a local organization that does lung cancer research. So I'm going to put that down. And I'm going to keep going around my circle and thinking of all of these people and what they're involved in, what they're passionate about, things that they might need to raise money for. And, you know, who do each of these people know? And at the end of this, so like when I wrote rowing down because my daughter was a high school rower and a collegiate rower. So I know what that's like rowing, like row your boat. I know a lot about the rowing programs, and I know that they need to raise money at the high school level. It's a D1, D2, D3 sport. So they don't need to raise money at the collegiate level, but they need to raise money at the high school level. And so I know that I can reach out to any rowing organization in the country and I can offer them a rowing fundraiser because I know the kind of things they need to raise money for. You might have a similar situation with baseball or cheerleading or gymnastics or band or anything that you or any significant person in your family or your friends have been involved in. I think about my neighbor and what she was involved in. And she's involved in a lot of philanthropy, and some of the organizations that she's involved in need to raise money. And so I'm going to fill this whole piece of paper with details about the people that I know and the organizations that I'm passionate about that might want to raise some money. Does that make sense to you all? Okay. And when you're done with that, Alex, what are you laughing at? I feel like you need to unmute and tell me you're put in the chat. Oh, your mic is broken. Okay. So the goal number one is to come up with who you want to do a fundraiser for. Now, and you can do this exercise at any time, right? You're basically building a family tree of people and organizations and things that you're passionate about and people that you know that might want to raise money. And Lori, I'll talk about that in just a second. Now, when you're doing this, I want you to think about a couple things. Number one, who is the right contact for this? And I'm going to tell you kind of how I have that conversation. The second thing that I think is important is when you're looking at your organizations is how are you going to make this a successful fundraiser? And I'm going to give you an example. Here's where I think people go wrong with fundraisers. They fail to connect with the people that are passionate about the organization. Okay, so if I am doing, and I'll use some examples that you guys put in the chat because I think it's the easiest. If you are doing a fundraiser for cheerleaders, okay, you are probably going to give each of those cheerleaders a packet, like a pouch party, a fundraiser packet, and they're gonna go see all their friends and neighbors and collect orders. And they're passionate about their cheer organization, so they want to raise the money, or their parents want them to raise the money. Okay, so that's easy because you're putting the packet in the hands of the person that really is the spokesperson for the organization. Same with a golf team, same with a mission trip. So anything that you can do a packet fundraiser for, and you can put the information into the hands of the person who is the advocate for the organization, is much easier. Now, when you get to something like, and I'm going to use a couple of your examples in the chat. When you get to something like a women's veteran shelter, and so Noemi mentioned that, okay, or a humane society, here's where it gets a little trickier. Now, for example, I'm going to use Nicole's Humane Society. Nicole may be really passionate about the Humane Society, and it's a great cause, okay? But Nicole's customers might not be quite so passionate about the Humane Society. So what Nicole has to do is work with the Humane Society to figure out how to get the fundraiser information into the hands of the people that are passionate about the Humane Society. So if Nicole says, I'm going to do a Humane Society fundraiser, I'm going to say that's fantastic. And then I'm going to say, and how are we going to market to the people who are passionate about this? Because if I just post on my Facebook page that I'm doing a Humane Society or in my VIP group, I might hope that my customers are excited about this, but they might not be. But there are a whole bunch of people that are really excited and want to see the Humane Society do well. Like we see this all over the place. So you need to work with the Humane Society. You know, maybe they have a Facebook page. Maybe they have a customer list that they would email your fundraiser information out to, right? You have to get the fundraiser into the hands of the people that support it. They have to do the work, help you to do that work. And that's where I see that people fall short. And I've used Amanda as an example a couple times before, and her fundraiser was fairly successful. But like, I remember years ago, Amanda coming to me and saying, I'm so excited. I'm going to do a fundraiser for, it was a children's hospital in Charlotte, and a very large children's hospital. And I think the natural assumption was, oh my gosh, everyone loves this children's hospital, so this is going to be an easy fundraiser. Well, Amanda promoting this fundraiser to her customers who may or may not be excited about the children's hospital is a little harder. But if Amanda could work with the hospital to get something put on their website, to get something put in their newsletter that goes out, to work with whatever organization within the hospital that does the fundraising, then she can get the information to the hands of the people who will benefit from that. Does that make sense? Okay. So sometimes when we have an organization, we just have to get a little creative in how we're going to market, and we can't assume that our customers are 100% going to be on board and support it. Now, there are fundraisers that your customers will 100% back. Anytime I do a buddy drive, right? I always have customers who are like, oh my gosh, yes. And anytime we have a flash sale, I talk that up to my customers that support my buddy drives, because when we have a flash sale and we have a buddy that's, $5, $6 or something like that, that's an easy one for our customers to say, oh my gosh, yeah, grab 2 for me. Okay. So you just have to be really careful and think about who the audience is. And that is really the only place that I see that consultants go wrong with fundraisers, is they assume that their customers alone will be enough to support the fundraiser when you really have to dig in. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, I did write a few notes because I didn't want to miss anything, because I do squirrel. We all know that. Let's talk about, okay, let's talk about what kinds of fundraisers you can do. Let's go there next. So different people do different kinds of fundraisers. And what do I mean by that? Are you going to do a full catalog fundraiser? So you are going to offer everything in the catalog to your fundraiser, to whoever is, doing the fundraiser. Or are you going to do a single product? Some people do whiff box fundraisers. Some people do scent circle fundraisers. Some people do buddy clip fundraisers. Some people do fragrance flower fundraisers, and that's the only product that they market in the fundraiser. Now, there's pros and cons to both of these, and it's really up to you what you want to do. I'm going to tell you what I do, but having said that, that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, because there are lots of people who have great success with the other options. I almost always, and when I say almost always, I actually mean 100% of the time, are for full catalog fundraisers. And I do full catalog fundraisers because I like to offer my customers or the organization an option to have products that start at $3, or actually $2 if we're looking at light bulbs, right? And go all the way up to the cost of an air purifier. Because I have customers, I have people in a fundraiser who maybe want to support the organization, but they can only afford maybe a $5 purchase or a $3 purchase. And then I have people who want to make a larger purchase. And so they'll purchase on the higher end. So that's one of the reasons that I do full catalog fundraisers, because I want people to be able to choose from the whole catalog of products. If someone came to my door and was doing a whiff box fundraiser, for example, and this is just me, people do these very successfully. But if I was just, someone came to my door and asked me if I wanted to, buy a whiff box, and say I didn't have a warmer, and, the whiff box usually has wax in it or some products that you need other things to go with, I might not be so inclined to buy that, to purchase it. Or I might not want to spend at that price point. Maybe I can only afford a $20 purchase. So that's why I tend to do fundraisers full catalog. But people have so much success, no matter what kind they do. Lots of people, Heather Gorsuch is a perfect example. She does large scent circle fundraisers. Adi Mitchell does whiff box fundraisers. There's lots of people who have success with single product fundraisers. So lay it out, give your organization options, and let them decide what works best. So what do you say? So people will say, gosh, I really want to do a fundraiser, but I don't know how to approach an organization. Okay. I don't know what to say. And I'm going to tell you this. You all completely overthink it. It's not that complicated. It's just the same as having a conversation with anyone. So I'm going to give you an example. I have a friend. Our husbands were stationed together. Gosh, oh my goodness, like 18 years ago, probably in the military. And Crystal has a daughter, Jay Elizabeth, and Jay Elizabeth is very active in competitive dance. And Jay Elizabeth had an opportunity I saw a post on Facebook. Crystal said, oh my gosh, Jay's going to Washington, DC to dance in April. Okay. Well, that's great. So I see this. I reach out to Crystal and I say, hey, I sent her a Facebook message. Hey, congrats. That's awesome that Jay Elizabeth is going to Washington, DC. Are you guys doing fundraising? Do you need to make some money to pay for this trip? And of course she says, yeah, we're fundraising. And I said, I'd love to help you earn some money with the Scentsy Fundraiser. And she said, that would be great. How do we do it? So I said, well, we can set it up just kind of like a pouch party, like an online party. I'll send you a packet. She can collect some orders. We'll have an online link, all the things. I said, but you know what? Do you think that the rest of the team might be interested in a fundraiser too? Is everyone needing to earn money? And she said, well, yeah. And I said, well, can you let me know, who would I contact? Who's the coach, or who would I contact to set that up for the whole group? Oh, well, let me tell you, this is who you contact and this is their phone number. And I said, okay, that's awesome. Would you mind mentioning it to them on Monday night when you have practice I'm going to reach out to them and see if it's something they're interested in. It's that simple. So I have a name, I have a contact phone number, and I reach out and I say, hey, I hear you're looking to raise some money and this is how I can help. And it's that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. It's not hard. It's not, when I say it's not hard, it's not complicated. We're here to help them raise some money for their organization. And we do that by giving them the opportunity to sell our products to their friends and family, right? We set it up just like we would a party, okay? Just in the workstation like we would a party. And we share the link with them. If there's a number of participants, you can offer packets. I do packets with my fundraisers. Not everyone does. And packets are kind of like little pouch parties. So the participants are going to do the work for you. They're going to be the little army men, so to speak, collecting orders from their friends and family, their neighbors, their teachers, whoever, and they're going to turn those in at the end, and their organization's going to earn some money for those orders. Is that confusing to you all? Is that hard? Okay. If you're not sure who the contact is, you just ask someone who's involved in the organization. And if you don't know that, then you just reach out to the organization and you ask them. So, often that takes a phone call. I know you guys don't think these things are meant for calls, but it does sometimes take a phone call. You can email the organization or you can reach out on social media as well. But if you're relying on people to read your email and to respond to you, that's relatively passive. I'm not sure that they're going to do that. Okay. So always be looking for groups that might want to be earning some money. Okay. There are some rules associated with different groups. For example, like I said, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. I don't know what the policy is now, but when I've done fundraisers in the past for them, they had to complete, like say they're with Boy Scouts, they had with, I think it was Cub Scouts, they had to do was a popcorn. I think they had to complete their popcorn sales first. And then after they had met their national requirements, they could get approval for other fundraisers. Girl Scouts, I think it was cookie sales they had to complete, but and different councils, I realize that the national rules are supposed to be the same, but different councils kind of have follow different rules as well. So, and it's kind of like parties, right? It's kind of like finding a host. It's kind of like asking someone to join. 100% of people are not going to say yes. And that's okay. So that's why you're going to make a list of 5 or a list of 10 or a list of 15, and you're going to reach out. Now, if you have 10 people that say yes, you probably want to stop, because 10 fundraisers at once is kind of a lot. Okay. So let's pretend at this point that you have your fundraiser, that, you've reached out to these people and you've said, oh my gosh, I want to help you earn some money. So what do you do next? Okay. How do you make them successful? Well, as I said, you need to be able to connect with the people that support the fundraiser. That's number one. You need to keep it simple. Sometimes we so overcomplicate things, especially if you are sending these kids or this organization with packets that they're going to take home. More is not necessarily better. The more information you put in there, not necessarily better. In the beginning, I had like an FAQ sheet, and I had an info sheet, and I had all these things in there in my fundraiser packet. And you want to know what most people probably did with them? Threw them in the trash, or looked at them the night before the fundraiser was due, didn't pay any attention to any of the extra stuff that I put in there. So just keep it simple. Think about when you've brought home a fundraiser, or someone has solicited money from you before. How much time have you taken to read all those fine details? You open up the order form, you open up the catalog or the pamphlet, you find your cookie dough or your pizza or your wrapping paper. That wrapping paper is pretty good, actually. And you fill out the order form, and you're, on your way. So don't think that you have to overcomplicate it. Okay. Be available to answer questions. It's really important if you're doing a fundraiser. These kids or this organization, they're not going to have all the answers. You are their go-to for that. So make sure that you let them know that you are available by text, by email, by whatever method you want to answer their questions. And you will get some calls. You will get people reaching out. You have to coach the coordinator. So for example, if I am doing a fundraiser for a student council, there's a teacher that oversees that student council at the school, and they are my partner. They are my lifeline. They're the equivalent of my host for a party, and I have to coach them. I know we don't talk about coaching hostesses a lot anymore, but it's really important that you arm them with the information that they need. And that's just the basics. It's the same stuff that you would tell a host. This is how people order. This is when the orders are due. These are the important things that they need to fill out on the order form. This is how much tax is, et cetera, et cetera. And then I like to do kind of a cheat sheet for the hostess with that kind of, or the coordinator with that kind of information. Okay. Think about fundraising for groups you understand the needs of. Okay. This is going to help them be more successful. And I used rowing as an example before, but I'll use rowing as an example again. So my daughter was a rower. So she was on a rowing team. They rowed 360 days a year round. They rowed in Texas. They were on the water all of those times. They traveled to regattas regularly. And it's a very expensive sport. For example, the cost of a uniform is over $100. Travel to these regattas is very expensive. It involves an overnight hotel stay. It involves meals. The shells, the boats that they use are very, very expensive. So I understand how much it costs to be part of a rowing program. And so I can speak intelligently on the needs of a rowing program. You all have organizations or things that you know well, right? And so you understand the needs and what's expensive and what's, how that would work. So you've got your fundraiser. Now you need to decide up front some important information. You need to be really clear on this. You need to make sure that the organization knows when you're going to start and end the fundraiser, what percent of your commission you're giving, because fundraisers are consultant driven. It is not an arrangement between the organization and Scentsy Home Office. It's an arrangement between the organization and you. So you're going to decide what percent of your commission you are going to donate to the organization. And you need to be very clear. This needs to be in a text, in an email, written down and signed. It just should not be a verbal conversation. Okay. So when you're going to start and stop it, what percentage of your commission are you going to give? Approximately when will the product be delivered? So, you know, good rule of thumb outside of a flash sale is, you know, Scentsy has 10 business days to ship plus standard delivery time. So you would not want to close the fundraiser on Friday and promise the participants the following Friday they would have their product, right? That's just not realistic. And you need to let them know when you will pay out the commission to the group. And all of these details need to be crystal clear. Also, is it tax deductible? I get lots of questions about that. And that really depends upon the organization and how the Scentsy that's purchased will be used. Lots of organizations are nonprofits, but that does not mean the fundraiser necessarily is. In some states, there are different rules on this. So you're going to want to reach out to your upline or someone who has experience, depending upon the fundraiser, and also reach out to home office. In many states that I've lived, the rule has been, if the participants are buying the Scentsy for personal use, it is not considered a tax write-off. If the organization was purchasing the Scentsy direct and they were going to use it, it was, but it really depends upon the group and the state. So how much should you give? That is completely up to you. I will tell you what I do, and that doesn't mean it's a good fit for you. I do give my full commission back to an organization. I do fundraisers not to make money, but to generously give. They're also a fantastic tax write-off for me. And I also do them to grow my customer base. But you never want to take a loss on a fundraiser. So you need to consider the cost of all of your materials and doing it before you make some kind of promise like that. So how do I give my full commission back? Well, most of my fundraisers are packet fundraisers. That means I am delivering to the organization little envelopes that have all the things that their students need to take and go and collect orders. They turn them back into the organization or the school or the teacher or the team or the coach. I collect them or they send them to me and we enter the fundraiser. So when I do that, I have them all in front of me. They're not all online orders. And because of that, I can combine orders and use the host rewards to pay for some of them. So that allows me a little extra cushion so that I can cover my supplies and I can also cover donating my full commission and I don't take a loss. But if you were doing a fundraiser, for example, that was all online, or all orders were going to come in online, you were going to give them supplies, maybe showcase brochures, things like that. But then all the orders were going to be online, you wouldn't have the option to combine. So you'd want to make sure that you were making enough to cover your costs, because you wouldn't want to take a loss on the cost of your showcase brochures or your catalogs or your product sheets or whatever it was that you were using in your order forms. Let's see. How much should you give? Let's see. How long should fundraisers last? Fundraisers are just like a normal party. They should last no more than 2 weeks. Okay. So fundraisers are just like a normal party. Normal rules apply. So they shouldn't last more than 2 weeks. How does a group get paid? Like I said, this is an arrangement between you and, can you guys hear my dog barking upstairs? Someone just rang my doorbell. Fundraisers are an agreement between you and the organization. And because of that, you're going to write a check or Venmo or get a cashier's check or however you have agreed and pay the organization directly. So my pro tip to you is to end your fundraisers before the end of the month. Give yourself plenty of time to deposit any money that might need to be deposited, get those fundraisers ordered, and make sure that you aren't committing to paying out that fundraiser until you've received your commission. Okay, so after the 10th of the following month. Usually when you do that time-wise, it works out as well, because if you're delivering product to the organization, then you've got the product and can deliver the check at the same time. Okay. How can you write it off? Well, it depends upon if the organization is a nonprofit, a legal nonprofit or not. That will determine how if you take it as a charitable donation or if you write it off as a marketing expense, but that's something you would want to talk to your accountant to, or whoever your tax professional is, whoever gives you tax advice. So there are a few rules with fundraisers. Number one, you cannot fundraise for a national disaster. So if you have, see my dog, she's wearing the cone of shame. If you have you're really devastated because there was a hurricane that took out an area and you're really tragically, it's heartbreaking to you, or there was a wildfire and people that have lost, their belongings. If it made national news, that's considered a national disaster, and you can't fundraise for that without the permission of Scentsy. And the reason for that is there's some people who have fundraised in name of, tragedy before and haven't followed through on it. Plus I'll be honest, it's a little tacky sometimes if, you really don't have a connection to it. You can't use an organization's name without their permission, like I said, and all normal social media rules apply when you're doing fundraisers. So personally, I usually do packet fundraisers. I dropped in the chat my fundraising documents that I use. It's a Canva template that you're welcome to adjust and use as you'd like. I use that packet of information. I usually do include, when I'm soliciting the fundraiser, a letter from the letter that's from the home office that talks about Scentsy Fundraisers, and that is on your workstation. So fundraisers are really a fantastic thing to do for your business. I really encourage you all to try them. You might find they're not for you. They are a lot of work, or can be a lot of work. The key to your success, again, is to really connect with who benefits from the organization, or who's passionate about the organization. And to give you another example with that, someone said they had done fundraising for someone who was having surgery and didn't have insurance. So your customers might not be really passionate behind that cause, but the people who support whoever that was, they would be. So the fundraiser would be successful when you could get it in front of the people who really wanted to help that person raise money, right? I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about fundraisers. Each fundraiser is going to be a little bit different. Often we spend so much time trying to learn the ins and outs of fundraisers. We spend so much time trying to make sure that we know all the things about fundraisers. We want to make sure that our fundraiser is executed perfectly. And the problem is we never actually take action because we want it to be perfect. When I did my first fundraiser, I'd only been a consultant for a couple months, and I really had not a clue what I was doing. And my fundraiser was as successful then as the ones I do now. It's really just an issue of a matter of taking action, taking the leap, reaching out to someone, and asking. Thanks, Renee, for so it was in the chat. For those of you that joined late, you might not have seen it because I don't think you could see it after it's been dropped if you join afterwards, but Renee just dropped it at the beginning. My fundraising documents are pretty simple. There's nothing super complicated. We did make them cute this past fall, but there's nothing super complicated about them. But you don't also have to use them. There are so many Scentsy trainings and resources out there. There's some things on the workstation about fundraising. You can YouTube Scentsy Fundraising. You can get into any of your group pages and probably type the word fundraising, and there's more resources that you can need. But don't let the fact that you've never done one keep you from doing one. Don't let the fact that you don't think you know everything keep you from doing everything. Just take action and start. You'll figure it out as you go, and each one's going to go ahead and get better. Do you guys have questions?
We had 2 questions I didn't hear that you answered.
Okay.
Do you ever open a Facebook group and have people order from the link in there?
So it depends. So June, it depends upon the organization. And if they want that, I know that I can't think who did our fundraising talk. Who does all of the, oh my gosh, she's so good too. I can't believe I can't think of her name. She does all the dog rescue. Who am I talking about? I feel like she's one of yours.
Christy Howard?
No, not Christy Howard. Christy does amazing fundraisers too. So She talked at our retreat in May about it. Are they Huskies? I feel like they're Huskies.
She does Huskies.
Yes. You know who I'm talking about?
Jennifer Green.
Yes.
Yes.
So Jennifer Green does it in a Facebook group. She sets up a Facebook group, and people that support that rescue, they join and they order through there. I have done that a couple of times for organizations that have asked for it. I don't always do it. I don't really find that the success is necessarily better, but like in her situation where she's doing it for a group that she wouldn't have access to, it's not like all of in that situation, she doesn't have the ability to get packets into the hands of people. So that is her way of connecting with the people who are passionate about the organization. And so in that situation, it's a really good resource. So yes, in that case, we find. How does Canva work? What does it cost? So Dawn, Canva is an app that you can use to create graphics and that kind of thing. How much does it cost? That's a great question. I feel like someone maybe knows the answer to that. I don't off the top of my head. There's a free option, yeah?
Yeah, there's a free version.
I don't know if you can use templates if you use a free version or not, but
Jan says shaking her head no.
no, okay. And I can share a PDF of this. The problem is you won't be able to edit it. And the importance of it is like the enter your contact information here. Yeah, go ahead.
Something that I wish I would have known a long time ago is you can have up to 5 users on Canva. So if you have 5 friends, you and 4 friends, y'all can go in together on it and pay for Canva too. So then y'all are all using it and sharing it. Whatever.
All right. So what was the other question? I know that was one.
That was it. Those were the 2 that I saw.
2 questions. The other question that I get quite often is, do I use a catalog or a showcase brochure or a product list? It depends upon the size of the organization. My go-to pretty much is a product, is a showcase brochure, because I feel like it aligns pretty well with like the wrapping paper catalogs and all that kind of thing. I feel like it gives a better representation of the product than the product sheet does. And it's much more cost effective than the full catalog. Now, if I had a fundraiser of 10,000 students or 2,000 students, I would be doing product sheets because they are much more economical. So it really depends upon what your budget is. I also get asked quite frequently, do I include the combine and save sheet? And if you can look at my documents, you can see that I do. It is up to you whether you do or not. A lot of people use the showcase brochure because it does not include a combine and save, or it didn't used to. I don't think it still does. But I have found personally, and by not offering a combine and save, that gives you the option to combine your orders if they come back to you with a physical order that you're entering yourself, right? So it gives you a little more cushion financially. But I have found the reason I found when I offer the bundle and save sheet with it, I can upsell people who were going to buy 3 bars are like, oh, I could buy 6 bars for this amount, or, oh, I'll buy, this for a couple more days, this pet bundle, or whatever the case may be. So I find that it works as a good tool for upselling, but that's totally up to you. So, what else? Any other questions?
I didn't see any.
Let's see. Oh, you and Carol are sharing. That's fantastic. Nicole says, I thought they updated it where you have to have a Canva team instead of Canva Pro to have multiple people. That I honestly don't have any idea. Oh yeah, and Lori says you can also use a QR code to get the catalog. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's lots of different ways. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do a fundraiser. I have found, and I don't have any really good current examples, otherwise I'd share them. They're pretty outdated at this point, but I have found if it's a new organization or an organization that I can't go kick off with, because I do fundraisers all over the country, I can send out a box of packets anywhere, right? I don't have to just do them in my backyard. But I have found that if I do really short videos explaining things and I give the coordinator access to those, like 2 minutes on YouTube. So thanks for joining our fundraiser. I'm really excited. your organization's going to earn whatever percent you're giving them. I want to share a few important details about how the fundraiser is going to work. And then you're going to list 4 or 5 more things. Upload it to YouTube, unlist it or whatever, share it with a coordinator, ask her to send it out with the packet so that the parents who don't show up, at the school for the meeting, they have a 2-minute synopsis, for example, of how the fundraiser works and how to fill out your packets. Things like that make a big difference. Okay, what other questions? Anything else?
Someone wanted clarification.
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
it is
oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wanted to ask for clarification too, because you said some states,
Yeah.
if depending on what they're using it for, did you mean to say sales tax instead of a write-off?
Yeah, I meant to say sales tax. Yeah, sales tax. Okay, so depends upon the organization and the state. Do you guys still in Texas have 1 day that you can do a year or not? Do you guys have that? An organization can choose 1 day to be tax exempt?
Yeah, we actually have 2.
So, and that's an anomaly. That is not common in most states. Most states do, nonprofits or organizations do not have that option. In some states, everyone pays sales tax no matter what. In some states, in South Carolina, the only way a fundraiser was tax exempt, even if it was a nonprofit organization, was if I did a fundraiser for the school, okay, the PTO, and they were a nonprofit, and the PTO bought the product in South Carolina, it was only tax exempt if they were physically using the product. So if they were giving it to the teachers to use or whatever. In other states that we've lived, you could write the check to the PTO could write a big check to you, and then that could be tax exempt, right? So it really varies by state. So I'm always cautious to give advice on that. There is a process for sales tax exemption through Scentsy. I believe it's sales tax at Scentsy.com still. I'm not sure. You would email them and you would ask them the specifics. They may apply to some organizations that are legitimate nonprofits. They may not to others. It really depends upon where you live and the laws in your state. For commissions, what I said was this: depending upon the organization and their tax status, whether a nonprofit or not, you may be able to write off your commissions that you give to them as a charitable donation. So if I'm doing a fundraiser for a group that's a 501c, that's a nonprofit, and they can provide me with that nonprofit tax ID number, and I usually request actually the letter, then I can claim that as a charitable donation on my taxes with either a letter from them stating I made a donation of a certain amount, donation meaning my commission that I gave them for the sales that they collected, or my check, is good enough in some situations with their tax ID number. Other organizations you may do a fundraiser for may not be tax exempt for your donation to them, right? So your commission, you might have to write off differently. If you're doing a fundraiser for, let me think of a group that might not qualify for that. If I'm doing a fundraiser for gosh, I can't even think of an example. Say I'm doing it for a for-profit organization, or for to help someone raise money to go to camp, right? And then in that case, it's probably not a tax write-off for me, like a charitable donation, right? Because that individual probably is not, considered a nonprofit. But in that case, I may be able to write it off as a marketing expense or an advertising expense. But you would want to talk to your accountant or whoever gives you tax advice and say, here's what the organization was, or here's the individual. How would I best take my, my deduction on my taxes for that? Does that make sense, or did I confuse you guys more? And we really don't give a lot of tax advice because, quite honestly, everyone's tax situation is different. Yes, things are different in Texas. Having lived in Texas, I can say that. Yes. Could you do a fundraiser for a mom of one softball player? Yeah, to help her. Yes. But again, that mom is not a charitable donation, so you cannot write that off as a charitable donation on your taxes, right? You could maybe write it off as a marketing expense, but what you also could do is go to that mom and say, hey, there might be other parents in the same situation you are. Do you think that there are other moms who might be interested in doing the same thing that I'm going to do for you? And then go from there. I mean, that's an easy lead in to either whoever's in charge of the organization, or she might just reach out to 4 moms and say, hey, this is what I'm doing to pay for this uniform. You might want to do it too. Here's her contact information. All right. Any other questions? Lori, did I answer your question? It's really about finding, like, you have to find out who to talk to. And the best way to do it is usually through your lead from the fundraiser. The other thing that I do, because fundraising is such a huge important part of our business, is I always talk about fundraisers. So if I'm at an event and you are checking out at my event, while you are checking out, doing your square or however you're paying, I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to say, did you know we do fundraisers? Do you know any groups that might need a fundraiser? When I do a party or when I'm doing a Facebook party, I'm always talking about fundraisers. So, you know, you get what you talk about. If you don't ever talk about fundraisers, no one will ever ask you about fundraisers or consider you for fundraisers.
All right. Well, I think this was amazing. I do fundraisers and I learned some things tonight. So thank you. Thank you so much, Karen, for teaching us all your ways.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, my ways aren't the only way. Like there are, like Shelley said, we all do them a little differently, and there is no right or wrong way. Well, there are some wrong ways probably, right? But there is no set one right way. So take the information we provided, do some other research, learn about other options, and then mold them together into something that works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know what our topic is next week. Do you remember?
So next week is month end.
Oh, yes, it
So
is.
there's
So
no
there is no Zoom.
Your Zoom
No.
free.
You get Dan the Man. Dan the Man on Facebook Live.
And don't forget, tomorrow is you come hang out and do your last end of month planning, all the things with us on Ascend Lounge.
Yep.
All right. With that, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Good night.